måske kan se, kommer der en bro mere her, så bliver I siddende. Og lige efter broen, så kig op til venstre, så får I et ret flot vy op mod tårnet på Vor Frelser Kirke. Det kan man komme op i, hvis man har lyst. Man skal bare være klar over, at den sidste halvdel det er på en udvendig trappe på selve spiret, der bliver smallere og smallere, jo højere man kommer op. So as you can see, there's another bridge coming up, so please stay seated for that one. And just after the bridge, have a look up to your left, and you'll see the tower of the Church of Our Saviour. You can climb that tower if you dare, because the last half of it is on a staircase on the outside of the spire, and it becomes more and more narrow the further up you get, and you have to pass other people. If you're like me and you don't like heights, it feels like the railing is about this big. But I definitely recommend it. The most beautiful view in the city. You can get tickets online, so you don't have to stand in line there. Alright, here comes the bridge. Mind the heads, everyone. Alright, there it is. Here you can see people going up and down the stairs. They say you're not a real Copenhagener until you touch the globe at the top. I've done it once and never ever again. Så kommer vi til den laveste af broerne i Christianshavns kanal, så pas lige på hovederne. Here comes the lowest of the bridges in this canal, so once again mind your heads and stay seated. Thank you. A little further down on the left, you get a row of colorful buildings just like in New Harbour Canal, but without any tourists or any restaurants at all. But no one ever comes here. So the church we just passed down here, that's a local high school. And every year in June when the students graduate, they get to pick a song for the bells of the tower. They have a big vote at school that usually on the turret, like Beyonce. And when they get the student caps on, the bells will play that song of the year for them. Here's that row of colorful houses, it's like new houses. Som I kan se, kommer der nu en bro mere. Det er den, der hedder Cirkelbroen, som skal ligne skibe i havnen. Den er kun for gående og cyklister, og de her runde platformer er lavet på en måde, så man kan ikke krydse den i en lige linje. Man er tvunget til at stoppe op, og det er ideen for arkitekten. Vi har simpelthen så travlt hver dag, man glemmer lige at stoppe op og trække vejret livet i et par minutter. This next bridge is called the Circle Bridge, and it's meant to resemble ships in the harbor. It's only for bikes and pedestrians, and it's made in a way that you cannot cross it in a straight line. You need to pause, and that's the idea from the architect, that we're so busy every day that we just forget to just pause for a few minutes and breathe and have a look at the water, enjoy the sunshine. Mind your heads, everyone. Thank you. Just in front of us now is the Black Diamond, which is an extension of the old Royal Library, which is straight behind it. It's called the Black Diamond because when the sun is out in the morning and it hits the water in the right angle, it looks like the whole facade is made of diamonds, but it is black granite all the way from Zimbabwe. Nu passerer vi den sorte diamant, som er til en ny tilbygning til det gamle kongelige bibliotek, der ligger lige bagved. Den hedder den sorte diamant, fordi når solen skinner om morgenen og rammer vandoverfaldet i bestemt vinkel, så ser det ud som om hele facaden er lavet af diamanter, men det er altså sort granit. On the right hand side is a large green building. It houses the Danish Architecture Center with some pretty cool exhibitions. It's also for kids because you can walk inside most of the exhibitions, and they also have a slide going through the building from the top to the bottom, and it's big enough for adults. Den grønne bygning her på hjørnet, Blok, som også bliver kaldt, huser det danske arkitekturcenter med nogle ret fede udstillinger, hvis man kan lide arkitektur og design. We're now going to enter the oldest part of the city, and in this canal there are no fewer than 9 bridges, so do be careful. Herinde omkring Slotsholmen, hvor vi skal nu byens ældste del, der er der ikke færre 9 broer at holde øje med, så pas endelig på. And up here on the corner you see this large red brick building with a big pointy roof. This is the King's Brew House from 1608. Back then the kings here, they needed lots and lots of beer because the water was filthy, low sewage system, you couldn't drink it, so what to do? Beer is always the solution. Here comes the first of the many, many bridges, so please remain seated. Thank you. The next bridge goes quite fast. Miss Marshall, just remain seated for that one as well. So beer was so important that it was actually used as payment. If you were a soldier or civil servant, part of your pay was 10 liters of beer every day. Not just for yourself, but for the whole family, because even the children had to drink beer. They do say that the alcohol content was much lower than it is today, but I'm not convinced. As I said, it was for soldiers as well. And at that time, we lost every single war we took part in. That might be the explanation in it. Den store murstensbygning her på højre, det er Kongens Bryghus fra 1608. Dengang han havde brug for masser af øl, for man kunne ikke drikke vandet i København, der var ikke noget kloaksystem, så man måtte drikke øl i stedet for. Det blev brygget herinde, og det var også som løn til soldater og embedsmænd, 10 liter hver dag, ikke bare til dem selv, men også til familien derhjemme, for selv børnene drak øl. Det var dog ikke så stærkt, som det er i dag, siger man. Det er også derfor udtrykket det tynde øl stammer fra. Lige nu er vi på vej rundt om Slotsholmen, den ligger herinde på højre hånd, og den hedder Slotsholmen, fordi den der Christiansborg ligger. Der har været slotte og borge på Slotsholmen helt tilbage fra 1167. De blev der ved med at brænde ned. Så det slot, vi har i dag, det kan godt være, det ser gammelt ud, men det er kun fra 1928. So at the moment we're circling a small island. It's on your right hand side, and it's called Castle Island because that's what Christiansborg Palace is. There have been fortresses and castles on that small island ever since 1167, but they kept burning down. So the one we have now, it may look old, but it's only from 1928. Og her kommer bro nummer 3, så endnu en gang bliver I siddende og pas på hovederne. Here comes bridge number 3, so please remain seated and mind your heads, everyone. Thank you. This next bridge coming up is named the Marble Bridge. Guess what it's made of? Sandstone for some weird reason. It's one of the last remains of the first Christiansborg Palace that burnt down in 1794. Så kommer vi til Marmorbroen, som trods navnet er lavet af sandsten, men fint skal det jo være. Det er en af de sidste rester af det første Christiansborg, der brændte ned i 1794. Og endnu en gang, I siddende og pas på hovederne. Once again, please stay seated and mind your heads. Thank you. Looks like we're going to be taken over by our little boat called Hyggen. It'll be on your right hand side in a few moments. So this next bridge is called the Storm Bridge. It's named after the storm on Copenhagen in 1659, when Sweden almost conquered all of Denmark, but they were stopped right here. This bridge is not just very low, it's the most narrow one we have. It's only 8 centimeters on each side of the vessel when we go through. So do be careful, keep all body parts inside the vessel, and don't use the railings when we go through, just to be on the safe side. It can give you a nasty squeeze. Can be a little tricky to get through, there might be a little bump or two, but that's totally normal. Så skal vi igennem Stormbroen, som er den smalleste af alle de broer, vi har. Der er kun 8 cm at give af på hver side. Så hold alle kropsdele indenbord, og så lad være med at bruge bailingen, mens vi sejler igennem. Der kan godt være, det lige giver et lille bump eller to, men det er ganske normalt. It doesn't make it any easier for the captain that just after this bridge we have to make a very sharp right turn. And he has to start that turn while we're still under the bridge. So it's quite impressive. Det kan godt være en lille smule svært for kaptajnerne, fordi lige efter den her bro skal vi meget skarpt til højre, og der er næsten ikke plads til den. Så det er ret imponerende, hvad de skal lære. To turn, or at least I hope so. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll give you Captain Oscar, well done. Imagine having to do that for the first time. So now you can see why it's called Castle Island. This is the tower of Christiansborg Palace, 106 meters high, the tallest one in the city. In there you'll find Parliament, the Prime Minister's office, the Supreme Court, and also the royal reception rooms where the King receives official guests. Those are open to the public, so if you're into art and history, that's a good place to go as well. Nu kan I se, hvorfor det er, det hedder Slotsholmen. Det er tårnet på Christiansborg, der rager op her 106 meter højt, og det højeste i byen. Der er jo åbnet en observationsplatform oppe i tårnet, som er forholdsvis ny, og det er ganske gratis. Det er jo ganske usædvanligt for København. Det kan anbefales. Den anden side af kanalen her, det er det område, vi kalder for Gammel Strand, fordi det er, hvad det er. Det her det er den naturlige kystlinje i København, så det meste af det, I ser bag ved mig ned mod havnen, det er kunstigt anlagt. The other side of this canal is an area called Old Beach, because that's what it is. This is the natural coastline in Copenhagen. So much of what you see behind me down towards the harbour is reclaimed and man-made. And as I said, the very first fortress was built in here in 1167, and now you can see the guy who built it. Just below this green church tower is a statue of a man on a horse. This is the Bishop Absalon. He was supposed to be a man of the church, but he spent most of his time raping and pillaging his way through Eastern Europe, converting all the heathens. And the king loved it so much that he gave him Castle Island for a fortress. And ever since then, he's been regarded as the founder of Copenhagen. But he wasn't. When this metro station up here was built a couple of years ago, archaeologists went down there and they recovered evidence that Copenhagen is 200 years older than we thought. So back to the 900s. So the bishop is sitting there on his horse bragging about something he never did, because when he came here, Copenhagen was already 200 years old. Nu kan vi se her på Højbro Plads, der er rytterstatuen af biskop Absalon. Man siger jo, at det er ham, der har grundlagt København i 1167, da han byggede sin fæstning herinde på Slotsholmen. Det passer bare ikke, for da metroen her blev bygget, der fandt arkeologer beviser på, at København er 200 år ældre, end vi troede, altså fra 900-tallet. Så biskoppen han sidder der på sin hest og praler med noget, han slet ikke gjorde, for da han kom til København, var byen allerede 200 år gammel. Det bringer os til næste bro. Pas på rødderne. Here comes the next bridge. Mind your heads and stay seated. Thank you. Alright, so if you look up to your right, you get a much better view of Christiansborg Palace. And if you look to the top of the tower, you see 3 royal crowns. They represent Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. Because back in the 1300s, we had our best, most powerful, most intelligent, and coolest monarch of them all. Of course, it wasn't a king, it was a queen. She managed to unite Scandinavia under her crown without any war at all. She's just a very clever politician. This union lasted until the 1500s, when Sweden rebelled. And we've basically been bitching about it ever since. Her i toppen af tårnet på Christiansborg kan I se 3 kongekroner. De repræsenterer Danmark, Norge og Sverige tilbage fra dengang vi havde Kalmarunionen, da Margrethe den første fik samlet de nordiske riger uden at føre krig. Hun var bare en meget dygtig politiker. Det varede jo indtil 1500-tallet, da Sverige gjorde oprør, og det har vi så været vågne over lige siden. Vi mindes det en del steder, både på bygninger og på brevpapir, og så er der jo også 3 kroner station og 3 kroner fortet. Så på den måde så prøver vi at bilde os selv ind, at Danmark stadigvæk er et stort land. Den historie bringer os til en af broerne, I ved, hvad vi skal gøre. We have yet another bridge coming up. You know what to do. Thank you. So the 16th of April last year was a very sad day in Copenhagen, and if you look up to your right, you'll see why. Behind this scaffolding are the ruins of one of the oldest and most iconic buildings in the city, the Old Stock Exchange from the early 1600s. It burnt down on the 5th anniversary of the Notre Dame fire in Paris, and just like the church, it had a beautiful tower seen in the middle of the banner. It was made of 4 dragons with their tails intertwined, because in the old days, people believed if you put a dragon on your building, it wouldn't burn down. This area has burnt down several times, but the dragons lasted for 400 years until it burnt down. They have started rebuilding, so hopefully we'll have it back soon. Jeg skal ikke kede vores danske gæster med historie om børsbranden, fordi det kan I godt huske. Men jeg kan fortælle, at jeg var på arbejde den dag. Det var godt nok en meget, meget spøjs og særlig oplevelse. Man kan bare virkelig mærke, at hele byen var i sorg. Og den her brand, here comes the next bridge, please mind your heads everyone. Okay. Den her brand var så voldsom, så det virkede som om det var levende. Og mange af os har haft som om vi har mistet en gammel ven, især også guider. Det er sådan lidt underlig fornemmelse, fordi det bare er en bygning, men det siger måske noget om betydningen af historien i en by som København. On to something much newer. On the left-hand side is the National Bank of Denmark by the architect Arne Jacobsen, who's probably more famous for furniture. Some of you may know the chairs called the Swan and the Egg. That was him. The building is not entirely perfect. If you look to the end of it, you see that the marble has a slightly different color at the corner. They bought the wrong kind of marble for the last bit of it. But it didn't show up until years later because it ages differently. But I love the symbolism in it that no one is perfect. And you don't have to. It just makes a really good story. I have yet to meet a Copenhagener who would notice that detail by themselves. Me included. But when you see it, you cannot unsee it. Her ligger Nationalbanken af Arne Jacobsen. Den er ikke helt perfekt. Hvis I kigger til det sidste hjørne, der kan I se, at marmoren har en anden farve end resten af bygningen. Man kommer simpelthen til at købe den forkerte slags, der blev bygget. Men det viser sig først efter nogle år, fordi det ældes anderledes end resten af marmoren. Det bringer os til den sidste af broerne her i kanalen. Pas på rødderne. Here comes the last of the bridges, number 9. So please mind your heads everyone and stay seated. Thank you. And speaking of details that Copenhageners haven't noticed, just in front of us now, you see this large cream-colored building with a high red roof and green gates at the bottom. It's an old warehouse from the 1700s, and the architect had to ask the king's permission to build it because he could see it from the palace behind you. And the king said, well, you can build it, but I want something beautiful to that. So that's or maybe just made it the Metropolitan. Den hvide bygning her på det Ejkels Parkhus. Den side, der vender over mod Christiansborg, bliver rigtig flot der mod kopper. Prøv at kigge her på den anden side. Se en lille smule anderledes ud. Personally, I think it looks like a prison. But as I said, I didn't notice it until I became a guide last year. But that's probably what it's like. When you live in a place for a long time, you don't notice it. On the left-hand side, you see this green building with a clock on top. This is the old custom house where ships paid taxes for the city in the old days. Later on, it became a ferry terminal. There used to be ferries going between Copenhagen and Malmö in Sweden. But of course, now we have the bridge and tunnel. There's no need for them anymore. So now it's mainly private pubs and restaurants in there. But the building itself is protected. Den grønne bygning her på venstre hånd, det er det gamle toldkammer, hvor skibene betalte skatter i gamle dage. Senere hen, så blev det færgeterminal. Der har jo været færger mellem København og Malmø. Det er der selvfølgelig ikke mere nu, hvor vi har broen og tunnel. Så nu er det mest restauranter og private klubber, der holder til derinde. Men selve bygningen her, den er altså fredet, det må de ikke sådan lave om på. We have yet another bridge coming up, but you don't have to stay seated for this one. It's quite high. This is the Inner Harbour Bridge, and it's only for bikes and pedestrians. It's a very important connection between the area of Christians Harbour and the island of Amager, where the airport is on this side, and the inner city on the other. I used it myself this morning to get to work on my bike. About 60% of all Copenhageners, they commute by bike. This is the easiest and fastest way to get around. Also, a lot of workplaces, they have showers, so if you have a long way and you're working up a sweat, you can get a shower before you start working. All in all, we bike 1.4 million kilometers every day in Copenhagen. That's about 35 times around the globe. So it's really important that the infrastructure can handle so many bikes. Den næste bro, der kommer her, behøver man ikke at sidde ned ved, det er Inderhavnsbroen, som forbinder Christianshavn og Amager med Indre Byen. Den er kun for gående cyklister. Jeg brugte den selv her til morgen for at komme på arbejde, ligesom 60% af alle københavnere gør. Det er den nemmeste og hurtigste måde at komme rundt på. Alt i alt så cykler vi 1,4 millioner kilometer her i København hver eneste dag. Det er 35 gange rundt om jorden, så det er altså vigtigt, at infrastrukturen kan betale så meget. And this big turn gets us back to New Harbour Canal, where we started the tour. As I said, it used to be the red light district in Copenhagen, but it didn't prevent one of the most famous Danish people ever to live here for 20 years of his life. That was the fairy tale author Hans Christian Andersen. You may know some of his fairy tales, like The Little Mermaid, The Ugly Duckling, The Emperor's New Clothes. You probably know them from the Disney versions. They're quite different, the originals. They're very dark. Like The Little Mermaid, she doesn't find true love. She becomes foam and she evaporates. How sad is that? There's another fairy tale called The Red Shoes. It's about a little girl who's very, very vain. She wants these red shoes, and when she gets them, they grow into her flesh, and she starts dancing, and she can't stop until someone chops off her feet. So that's pretty scary. Som I kan se, så er vi ved at være tilbage i Nyhavn, som jo var det her ret skubbelige sted at komme før i tiden. Jeg afholdt dog ikke H.C. Andersen fra at bo her i 20 år sit liv. Han skrev mange af de 156 eventyr, mens han boede her. I virkeligheden ville han være tæt på Det Kongelige Teater, fordi han troede, han skulle være skuespiller eller balletdanser. Men det var sådan lidt ligesom at se dem, der er værst til X-Factor, fordi de grinede af ham, og ja, de gjorde ham på porten, for at kunne ikke finde ud af noget som helst. Så måtte han tage sig til noget andet, og så fandt han ud af, at han kunne skrive, og det er vi jo glade for i dag, at han gjorde.